A simple gesture turned a waitress into a miracle in a billionaire's life. The restaurant was busy that afternoon, full of the usual chatter, clinking dishes, and the faint smell of fried food mixed with coffee. Families and friends filled the tables, laughter bouncing off the walls, and waiters hustled back and forth trying to keep up with orders. Amid all this, a small corner table sat a boy named Ethan with his father, Mr. Anderson. Ethan was 7 years old, but his face carried the weight of someone much older because he had a disability that made daily life more difficult than it was for other children. His movements were slower, and loud noises or crowded spaces often made him anxious. On this day, he was particularly sensitive. Overwhelmed by the bustle of the restaurant, Ethan sat quietly in his high chair, fidgeting with his hands, avoiding eye contact with the other diners. His father, Mr. Anderson, was a billionaire who was used to being surrounded by people who either admired or feared him. He was talking casually to a business associate seated at the next table, discussing matters of contracts and investments, completely engrossed in the conversation. Yet, even though he was wealthy and powerful, there were moments like these when he felt completely helpless, because his son's needs and emotions could not be controlled by money or influence. Ethan's eyes began to fill with tears. He tried to hide them behind his small hands, pressing them against his face so no one would notice. The sounds of laughter, clanging plates, and loud conversations made him even more uneasy. His breathing became slightly faster, and his little body shook a bit with tension. Children like Ethan, who experience the world differently, often struggle to express their feelings, and sometimes all they need is one kind person to notice. Most adults would have walked past him without a second glance, too busy with their own lives or in a hurry to serve tables. But this day, fate had something else in store. Emily, a young waitress working at the restaurant, was balancing a tray filled with plates of food when she noticed Ethan. She had seen many children in her time as a waitress, some crying, some giggling, and some simply lost in their own little worlds. But there was something about Ethan that caught her attention instantly. Maybe it was the way he tried to hide his tears, or the tiny shiver that ran through his body as he tried to cope with his discomfort. Whatever it was, Emily felt a sudden urge to help. She could have kept walking, serving the next table, but she stopped, gently placing her tray down on a nearby counter. Without hesitation, she crouched down to Ethan's level, lowering herself so she was eye to eye with him. Children often respond better to adults who are on their level because it makes them feel safer and less intimidated. Emily spoke to him in a soft, calm voice. "Hey there, it's okay. You're safe. Can I help you?" she asked gently. Her tone was not rushed, and there was no hint of annoyance or impatience. She waited patiently for Ethan to respond, giving him the space to feel secure. Slowly, he peeked through his fingers, his teary eyes meeting hers. Emily's presence was like a quiet shelter for him amidst the storm of sounds and activity in the restaurant. She reached out a hand, not to grab or push, but to offer comfort. She took a soft napkin and gently wiped the tears that had fallen down Ethan's cheeks. It was a simple gesture, but for Ethan, it meant the world. The warmth in her voice, the gentleness in her hands, and the patient smile on her face made him feel seen and understood. Something he rarely experienced outside his family. Mr. Anderson noticed this interaction from across the room. He had seen many people meet his son before, but the majority either ignored Ethan's discomfort or handled it with awkwardness or unease. Some tried to distract him with toys or candy, which often worked only temporarily. Others, intimidated by his condition or unsure of how to respond, would quickly look away. But Emily's approach was different. She didn't pity him, she didn't avoid him, and she didn't treat him like a problem to fix. She treated him like a little human being who deserved kindness and respect. As Mr. Anderson watched, he felt a mix of emotions. There was relief, knowing someone could calm his son when he could not. There was curiosity, wanting to know more about the young woman who had stepped into this brief but significant moment. And there was awe, because he realized that, despite all the wealth, influence, and power he had, there were things money could never buy, things as simple and pure as genuine human empathy. Ethan, still trembling slightly, began to relax. The tears on his cheeks dried slowly as he let himself trust Emily for a few minutes. He leaned a little toward her, showing small signs of comfort and reassurance. For him, this was not just about wiping tears. It was about feeling safe in a world that often felt overwhelming. Emily didn't rush him or try to force a smile. She simply stayed with him, letting him know it was okay to feel upset, and that someone cared enough to help him through it. The scene went unnoticed by most other patrons, who were busy eating, talking, and laughing. But for Ethan, Mr. Anderson, and Emily, it was a moment that would linger in their minds long after the restaurant was empty and the plates were cleared. It was one of those rare, small acts of human kindness that can have a lasting impact, especially on someone who is vulnerable. Mr. Anderson leaned back in his chair, quietly observing, feeling an unfamiliar mix of humility and gratitude. He realized that while he had built a life filled with success and material wealth, the most profound lessons often came from simple human interactions. A waitress, someone whose life and daily struggles he barely knew, had just shown him and his son something invaluable: empathy, patience, and care, without expectation. For Ethan, the world suddenly seemed a little less intimidating. The restaurant's noise, which had seemed overwhelming just moments ago, became manageable. The people around him no longer felt distant or scary. Because he had felt connection and comfort from Emily, her small act, wiping his tears, and speaking gently, had given him the courage to breathe again. To sit comfortably, and even to smile faintly, this first encounter set the stage for everything that would follow. It was a reminder that sometimes life-changing moments don't happen in boardrooms or at grand events. They happen quietly in ordinary places, through small acts of compassion. In that bustling restaurant, amidst the noise and chaos, as a billionaire father, his disabled son, and a kind-hearted waitress crossed paths. That simple moment, invisible to most, would become the catalyst for changes none of them could have predicted. And so, the first part of their story ends here. Not with grand gestures or dramatic events, but with a simple, human connection, a child's tears gently wiped away, and a father quietly realizing that sometimes the most extraordinary things are hidden in the smallest acts of kindness. After that brief moment in the restaurant, a quiet connection had formed between Ethan and Emily, the young waitress. Ethan's small smile lingered as he watched her continue her work, carrying trays, taking orders, and serving other customers with the same care and attention she had shown him. To an ordinary person, it might have seemed like any regular afternoon at a busy restaurant. But to Mr. Anderson, Ethan's father, it was something entirely different. He was watching something that he rarely got to witness in his world of wealth, power, and constant business dealings: genuine human kindness, without expectation. Ethan, who had spent most of his life learning to navigate a world that didn't always understand him, felt safe in her presence. Her calm, soft-spoken nature seemed to reassure him. He didn't feel pressured or rushed. He wasn't being treated like a problem to solve or a child to manage. Emily was simply there, giving him her attention, showing patience, and treating him as if he were just like any other child. This simple approach made Ethan relax further. He even began to engage a little, his small voice shyly asking questions about the menu, pointing out things he liked, and occasionally giggling at small jokes Emily made to keep him comfortable. Mr. Anderson could hardly take his eyes off this interaction. He felt a mixture of admiration and amazement. In his world, people were often motivated by money, power, or recognition. Employees were expected to do their jobs efficiently, with professionalism, and sometimes even with distance. But Emily's behavior wasn't about efficiency or impressing her boss. She wasn't seeking praise or reward. She simply wanted to help a child who was struggling in that moment. That authenticity struck him in a way he wasn't used to. While Emily gently reassured Ethan, she also kept her tone light and engaging. She asked him about his favorite foods and talked about little things he liked, trying to distract him from the overwhelming noise of the restaurant. She shared a small story about a puppy she had once cared for, making Ethan giggle quietly. The warmth and sincerity interactions created an immediate bond, a connection that neither money nor power could ever buy. For Ethan, who often faced challenges in social settings, this was a rare and meaningful interaction. Emily's ability to read Ethan's emotions and respond appropriately showed a deep level of empathy that most adults never demonstrate. She noticed subtle signs, a slight trembling of his hands, the quiver in his voice, the hesitation in his eyes, and responded in a way that made him feel seen and understood. She adjusted her approach as needed, sometimes offering a comforting touch, sometimes just giving him space, but always keeping her presence gentle and reassuring. Ethan began to relax more and more as the minutes passed, his tension slowly easing. For Mr. Anderson, observing this was a profound experience. He had spent years trying to protect his son and ensure he was surrounded by the best care, tutors, and medical professionals. He had never expected that something as simple as a waitress noticing his son's discomfort could have such a significant effect. It was a humbling moment for him, a reminder that kindness and human connection often come from the most unexpected places. He began to reflect on how his own life, full of wealth and privileges, sometimes overlooked the importance of these small but impactful gestures. Ethan's trust in Emily grew steadily. He leaned forward a little more, responding to her questions with short but meaningful answers. He pointed to the dessert menu, asking if she liked ice cream too. Emily smiled warmly and nodded, making a little joke about her favorite flavor. The way she interacted with him was natural, unforced, and patient, allowing Ethan to feel comfortable and confident in his surroundings. Her presence made the restaurant feel less intimidating, less chaotic, and more like a safe, welcoming space. As the interaction continued, other customers might have glanced over and noticed the young boy and the waitress, but most likely they saw nothing extraordinary. They would have thought just a child being comforted by a kind employee and moved on with their meals. But for Ethan and Mr. Anderson, this moment was far more profound. It was the start of something meaningful, a connection built on trust, care, and genuine attention. Mr. Anderson felt a sense of relief washing over him. His son, who often struggled in public spaces, was at ease, smiling gently, and enjoying a moment of comfort that no amount of money could create. Emily's empathy didn't stop at just calming Ethan. She also subtly engaged him in conversation, asking about his favorite activities, his toys at home, and things he liked to do. She listened carefully, nodding and responding in ways that showed she remembered what he said. This level of attention made Ethan feel valued and important. Children like him, who often face extra challenges, sometimes feel invisible or misunderstood. Emily's behavior countered that, giving him a sense of dignity and recognition that was rare but deeply meaningful. While all this was happening, Mr. Anderson found himself observing not only Emily's care for Ethan, but also her interactions with other customers. She treated everyone with the same respect and patience. Whether it was a difficult customer, a chatty family, or a child crying like his own son had been, her demeanor was consistent and genuine, never forced or fake. This consistency further impressed Mr. Anderson. It was clear she was not just performing her job. She genuinely cared about people. For Ethan, the world outside Emily's presence often felt overwhelming. Crowds, noise, and unfamiliar faces could trigger anxiety, frustration, or sadness. But with Emily, he felt safe. He felt understood. He could express himself without fear of judgment or impatience. The tears he had shed moments ago were replaced with small smiles and quiet laughter. He even reached out for her advice about what to choose from the menu, showing trust and comfort in her guidance. This tiny bond, so simple in appearance, carried immense significance. Mr. Anderson realized that in life, these small, compassionate gestures often matter more than wealth, status, or control. Emily's actions reminded him that real influence comes not from what you own, but from how you make others feel. Watching his son open up and feel safe in someone else's care, without any pressure or expectation, was a lesson he would never forget. He felt gratitude toward Emily, though he hadn't yet introduced himself or spoken to her. He knew that this woman, in a few minutes, had touched their lives in a way that would linger long after they left the restaurant. Ethan, meanwhile, was slowly becoming more animated. He pointed at the window, talking softly about the cars outside. He smiled shyly at Emily when she responded with humor, enjoying the brief exchange. His body relaxed, the tension in his shoulders easing. His small victories, like asking a question or laughing quietly, felt monumental in that moment, and they were all made possible by Emily's patient care. It was more than just a simple act of wiping away tears. It was a bridge of trust and understanding between two people from very different worlds. As the lunch hour continued, the dynamic between Ethan and Emily became more natural. Ethan was no longer shrinking into his chair or hiding his emotions. He was present in the moment, feeling a rare sense of comfort and safety. Emily's presence had transformed his experience, showing him that there were people in the world who could understand him and make him feel secure. For Mr. Anderson, witnessing this change was a mixture of relief, admiration, and inspiration. He had spent so much time trying to create the perfect life for his son. Yet this young waitress had achieved in a few minutes what money and planning could not. She had made Ethan feel truly cared for by the time their meal was nearing its end. The connection between Ethan and Emily had grown stronger. Ethan reached out to her one last time before leaving, his small hand brushing against hers in a gesture of trust. Emily smiled warmly, giving him a gentle nod and saying, "You're doing great, Ethan. I'm proud of you." Those words, simple yet sincere, resonated deeply. For Ethan, they were a validation of his feelings, a reminder that he mattered, and a confirmation that there were people in the world who could see him for who he was. Mr. Anderson left the restaurant that day with more than a full stomach. He carried a feeling of awe and deep respect for Emily, realizing that sometimes the most meaningful moments in life come from ordinary people performing small acts of extraordinary kindness. That brief interaction between a young boy and a compassionate waitress had already begun to change the way it viewed the world, teaching him lessons about patience, empathy, and the importance of human connection that he would never forget. This version keeps the story simple, emotional, and immersive, showing the growing bond between Ethan and Emily while highlighting Mr. Anderson's observation and reflections. After that memorable afternoon in the restaurant, Mr. Anderson couldn't stop thinking about Emily, the young waitress who had treated his son with such care and compassion. Her small act of kindness toward Ethan had left a lasting impression not only on his son, but also on him. In his life, he had encountered countless employees, assistants, business partners, advisors, but very few had ever made him pause and truly notice the depth of their character. Emily had done just that, in one quiet, extraordinary moment. Over the next few days, Mr. Anderson found himself reflecting on what had happened. He remembered the way she had knelt down to Ethan's level, speaking to him softly and patiently. He remembered the gentle wipe of the napkin on Ethan's tear-stained cheeks and the calm reassurance in her voice. Most importantly, he remembered the small smile that had appeared on Ethan's face. A smile that rarely came so easily in public. Mr. Anderson realized that her kindness was genuine. It wasn't for show or reward. She hadn't even known who he was, or that he could offer her anything in return. She had simply responded with empathy, guided by the instinct to help another human being in need. As he replayed the scene in his mind, he started observing her more closely from a distance whenever he returned to the restaurant. He watched as she moved gracefully from table to table, balancing trays of food while still taking the time to listen to customers' needs. Some customers were impatient or rude, but she never let it show. She treated everyone with the same warmth and attention, her smile steady and sincere. Even in the busiest moments, she never seemed flustered or careless. Mr. Anderson began to admire the consistency of her kindness. This wasn't a one-time act. It was a reflection of her character, of who she truly was. Meanwhile, Ethan could not stop talking about Emily, even after leaving the restaurant. He would mention her in small, excited bursts. "Daddy," the lady with the smile. "She's so nice," he would say, his voice filled with awe. She helped me feel better. For Ethan, the restaurant had become more than a place to eat. It had become a space where he felt safe and understood, even if just for a short while. The bond he had formed with Emily, though brief, was meaningful and comforting. Mr. Anderson saw the happiness in his son's eyes and realized the value of that connection. It was more than a fleeting moment. It was a spark that could grow into something lasting. Mr. Anderson also noticed something else. Watching Emily interact with other people, he saw that her empathy wasn't limited to children or those struggling visibly. She treated everyone with respect, regardless of status, age, or attitude. To him, this revealed a depth of character that he had rarely encountered. In a world where people often acted out of self-interest or obligation, Emily's genuine care stood out. She had an understanding of human nature that went beyond basic politeness. She could sense when someone needed reassurance, encouragement, or simply a kind smile. Mr. Anderson admired that deeply, the more he thought about it. The more he realized how rare such empathy truly was. In his life, he had plenty of wealth and influence, but those things had never taught him lessons about compassion. Money could buy comfort, safety, and convenience, but it could not buy the ability to truly connect with another human being. Watching Emily's small, thoughtful actions toward Ethan had reminded him of something fundamental. Real impact comes from caring, understanding, and paying attention to the needs of others. It was a lesson he had never learned in boardrooms or business meetings, but one that he would never forget. Ethan's newfound happiness after meeting Emily was also remarkable. He began to talk more about the restaurant, about the warmth he felt, and even about his own feelings. Children with disabilities sometimes struggle to express themselves or trust others quickly. But Emily had broken through that barrier. She had made him feel safe, heard, and valued. For Mr. Anderson, seeing his son relax and open up was invaluable. He had invested in therapy, special education, and countless resources to help Ethan navigate the world. But none of those things had created the immediate, natural bond that Emily's empathy had over the following weeks. Mr. Anderson found himself returning to the restaurant more often, though sometimes he went alone just to observe. He wanted to see her again, not for any selfish reason, but because he was genuinely impressed by her character. Watching her, he saw her in her element, working hard, yet maintaining her gentle nature. She treated everyone equally, never showing favoritism, never seeking attention. Even when mistakes were made or complaints arose, she handled them calmly, with patience and professionalism. Her presence had a subtle but powerful effect on everyone around her. People felt noticed, cared for, and respected, simply because she paid attention to them. One afternoon, as he observed her, he noticed the way she encouraged other children who were upset or overwhelmed. Using the same gentle techniques she had used with Ethan, she would kneel, speak softly, and offer comforting gestures, all while maintaining her cheerful demeanor. To Mr. Anderson, it was remarkable. This level of empathy was rare, and it wasn't something that could be taught easily. It was part of who she was. Seeing this consistency reinforced his growing admiration for her. She had a natural gift for connecting with people, understanding their emotions, responding in a way that made them feel safe and valued. Mr. Anderson also reflected on his own life in contrast. He had wealth, power, and influence, yet he realized that he often overlooked small but meaningful human interactions. He thought about how many people in his position might have missed the quiet significance of Emily's actions entirely. He had seen others ignore or dismiss his son's struggles in public, but here was someone who didn't hesitate to care. The simplicity of her actions, the kneeling, the gentle voice, the smile, the patience was far more powerful than anything money could provide. Ethan, for his part, began to look forward to Emily's visits whenever they returned to the restaurant. He would watch for her among the staff, hoping to see her smiling face. Her presence became a source of comfort and familiarity. Mr. Anderson noticed the joy and confidence she inspired in his son and understood the profound impact she had, even in such a brief period of time. Emily had done something extraordinary without realizing it. She had created a safe space where Ethan could express himself and feel accepted. Mr. Anderson's admiration for Emily was no longer just about what she had done for Ethan. It extended to her overall character. She embodied qualities that he respected deeply: patience, empathy, kindness, and integrity. These were traits that could not be taught in schools or bought with money. They were the foundation of meaningful human connection and Emily had them in abundance. He realized that encountering someone like her was rare and valuable. She had reminded him of what truly matters in life's compassion, empathy, and genuine human connection. As days passed, Mr. Anderson began to think seriously about how he could show his appreciation for Emily. He wanted to acknowledge her character and perhaps offer her an opportunity that could change her life. But he also wanted to do it thoughtfully. He didn't want to simply hand her a reward. He wanted her to feel seen and valued for who she truly was. Observing her over time allowed him to see not just a moment of kindness, but a pattern of behavior that spoke volumes about her inner strength and moral character. This period of reflection also gave Mr. Anderson insight into his own priorities. He had always focused on business success, financial growth, and providing for his family materially. Yet he realized that genuine human connections, simple, heartfelt gestures like Emily's often, had a deeper and more lasting impact on happiness and fulfillment. He understood that empathy, compassion, and attention to others' needs were invaluable qualities, and he had been reminded of their importance by someone who had no obligation to show them. Ethan continued to thrive in Emily's presence. The more time they spent together, even in brief moments at the restaurant, the more confident he became. He began to engage more freely with people, showing curiosity and a willingness to interact that had not been present before. Emily's influence was subtle but profound. She had given him a sense of security and self-worth that no amount of money or therapy could replace. For Mr. Anderson, seeing this transformation was incredibly moving. He realized that her impact went beyond just a single act of kindness. It had initiated a chain reaction of confidence, trust, and joy in his son's life. By the end of this period, Mr. Anderson's respect and admiration for Emily had grown immensely. He saw her as someone exceptional. His presence had made a real difference in his son's life and in the way he himself viewed the world. The brief encounter in the restaurant had blossomed into something more significant. Revealing the depth of her character and the power of empathy, he knew that he wanted to acknowledge her in a meaningful way, but he also recognized that he needed to understand her better, to see who she truly was beyond the restaurant walls. Emily had unknowingly become a symbol of hope, patience, and genuine human kindness in their lives. Her small act of wiping away Ethan's tears had sparked a reflection that went far beyond that moment. It had shown Mr. Anderson the importance of noticing, valuing, and respecting the humanity in others. He realized that these qualities, rare and precious, could change lives in ways that money or power never could. And so, the story of admiration, reflection, and connection continued, setting the stage for the next chapter, where Mr. Anderson's growing curiosity and respect for Emily would lead him to consider a life changing over the next few weeks. Mr. Anderson couldn't shake the thought of Emily from his mind. Her kindness toward his son, her patience, the way she carried herself with dignity and grace had left a lasting impression. In his world, full of business deals, luxury, and influence, he rarely encountered people who made such a genuine impact without seeking something in return. Emily had done exactly that, and it had affected him deeply. He knew he wanted to meet her properly, to express his gratitude and appreciation, and perhaps even help her in a meaningful way. But he also wanted to approach the situation carefully. One busy afternoon, Mr. Anderson returned to the restaurant with Ethan. He wanted to see Emily again. But not just for a quick interaction. He wanted to observe her, to understand more about her character. As they entered, Ethan's eyes immediately searched for her familiar face, and when he spotted her, his little face lit up. Emily waved, smiling warmly at both of them. To Ethan, it was a reassuring and comforting sight. A reminder of the trust and safety he had felt in her presence before. Mr. Anderson watched quietly as Emily moved through the restaurant, attending to tables with the same gentle care he had noticed previously. She balanced trays effortlessly while engaging customers in polite conversation. Even when faced with difficult or impatient patrons, her demeanor remained calm and compassionate. She did not rush her work, but she also ensured it was done efficiently and correctly. Mr. Anderson realized that her kindness was not limited to a single moment. It was a reflection of her entire approach to life and work. She treated everyone with respect, patience, and dignity, no matter who they were or what their mood might be. As Ethan ate his lunch, Emily occasionally stopped by their table, checking in on him with a soft smile and encouraging words. Each time she spoke to him, he relaxed further, laughing softly at her gentle jokes and chatting quietly about small things that interested him. Mr. Anderson noticed how naturally she connected with his son. She didn't need to force him to feel comfortable. She simply provided a safe space and allowed him to open up in his own time. That kind of patience and understanding was rare, and Mr. Anderson felt a growing admiration for her, not just as a waitress, but as a person. After observing her for some time, Mr. Anderson decided it was time to approach her. He waited until she had a moment of relative calm, then walked over with Ethan by his side. Emily greeted them with her usual warm smile. Not knowing the full identity of the man standing before her, Mr. Anderson introduced himself calmly, explaining that he was Ethan's father. He expressed his gratitude for the care she had shown to his son during their first encounter, emphasizing how much it had meant to both of them. Emily listened with a polite, humble demeanor, slightly surprised that he had come specifically to thank her. He continued by telling her how deeply her small act of kindness had affected him personally. He spoke about how he had watched her interact with others in the restaurant, and how impressed he was by her consistent patience, empathy, and integrity. To Mr. Anderson, this was not just about a single moment. It was about her character as a whole. He wanted her to understand that her actions mattered, not only to his family but also as an example of the kind of human connection that could truly change lives. Emily was initially quiet, taken aback by the attention from someone as powerful and influential as Mr. Anderson. She was not used to being recognized for her kindness, nor had she expected to be acknowledged in such a significant way. Her humility made the interaction even more genuine. She smiled softly and thanked him, explaining that she was simply doing what felt right. For her, helping a child in need was natural, not extraordinary. She didn't think it deserved recognition. However, Mr. Anderson had something more in mind. He wanted to do more than just express gratitude. He wanted to offer Emily an opportunity that could change her life. He knew that her character, work ethic, and empathy were rare qualities, and he wanted to help her develop them further. He explained that he had resources, mentorship, and opportunities that could provide her with a path to a brighter future. He spoke gently, making it clear that his offer was not about obligation or repayment, but about recognizing her exceptional qualities and helping her reach her potential. Emily listened. Initially unsure of how to respond, the offer was overwhelming, far beyond anything she had expected. She had been working at the restaurant to support herself and her family, never imagining that her small acts of kindness could lead to such a life-changing opportunity. Mr. Anderson reassured her, explaining that he had seen her dedication and empathy firsthand and that he believed in her potential to do great things. He wanted to provide her with guidance, education, or career opportunities that could open doors she had never imagined. As they spoke, Ethan watched the exchange quietly, his small hand occasionally reaching out to Emily in reassurance. He had already formed a bond with her, and now he sensed that something important was happening. Emily's presence in their lives had grown beyond the role of a friendly waitress. She had become a symbol of trust, care, and stability for Ethan. The offer from Mr. Anderson added a new layer to their connection, signaling a potential shift not only in her life, but also in their own lives. Emily's emotions were mixed. She felt gratitude, surprise, and a sense of responsibility all at once. She wanted to honor Mr. Anderson's trust and make the most of the opportunity, but she also felt humbled by his recognition. She realized that her small acts, done with pure intent, had created ripples far beyond her understanding. It was a powerful lesson in how genuine kindness could attract unexpected opportunities and change the course of a person's life. Mr. Anderson patiently explained that accepting his offer did not mean abandoning her current life or responsibilities. He wanted to help her grow while maintaining her authenticity and individuality. His proposal was not a gift in the conventional sense. It was an investment in her potential, a way to empower her to achieve more than she had ever imagined. He made it clear that he valued her character and wanted to support her in ways that would allow her to flourish, not simply reward her for a single act. Ethan, sensing Emily's hesitation, gave a small smile and nodded at her, as if encouraging her to accept the offer. The bond between them had grown strong enough that his silent encouragement carried meaning. Emily looked at him and felt a surge of warmth and responsibility. She knew that accepting this opportunity could provide not just for herself, but also for others she cared about. And it was a chance to continue making a positive impact in the world by the end of the conversation. Emily had accepted Mr. Anderson's offer. It was a life-changing decision, one that marked the beginning of a new chapter for her. She was filled with gratitude, excitement, and determination. She understood the significance of the opportunity and the trust placed in her Mr. Anderson. In turn, felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had recognized and nurtured someone whose character and values aligned with his own belief in the power of empathy and kindness. This moment marked a turning point. What had started as a simple act of wiping away a child's tears had evolved into something far greater. Emily's life was now intertwined with Ethan and Mr. Anderson in a meaningful way, creating a chain of influence and opportunity that none of them could have predicted. It was a reminder that small acts of kindness can create extraordinary consequences, changing lives in ways that are profound and lasting. As they left the restaurant that day, Mr. Anderson reflected on how remarkable the situation was. He had not only witnessed the impact of genuine empathy, but had also had the chance to support someone exceptional in a way that could transform her life. Emily, walking beside him and Ethan, felt a mixture of hope, excitement, and determination. She realized that her life had shifted in a moment, not because of wealth or fame, but because of her own values, patience, and the simple decision to act with kindness. For Ethan, the change was equally significant. He had seen someone he trusted and admired being recognized for their empathy and care. This reinforced his understanding of trust, kindness, and the importance of valuing people for who they are. The connection he had with Emily had grown beyond the initial moment of comfort. It had become a lasting relationship that would continue to shape his experiences and emotional growth. In the weeks that followed, Emily began to explore the opportunities Mr. Anderson had offered. She attended mentoring sessions, learned new skills, and gradually began to envision a future she had never thought possible. The initial act of kindness, which seemed small at the time, had opened doors to education, personal growth, and life-changing possibilities. It was a powerful reminder that sometimes the smallest gestures can lead to the largest transformations. By the end of this chapter, it was clear that the act of empathy and attention had created a ripple effect. A child's trust, a parent's admiration, and a young woman's compassion had intersected in a moment that would forever alter the course of their lives. It was a testament to the idea that genuine human connection, patience, kindness have the power to create extraordinary outcomes far beyond what anyone could imagine. After Emily accepted Mr. Anderson's offer, her life began to change in ways she had never imagined. At first, it was a mixture of excitement, nervousness, and disbelief. She had been working at the restaurant for years, supporting herself and her family, and she never imagined that a small act of kindness toward a child could lead to such a life-altering opportunity. Yet now, she had a chance to grow, learn, and create a future that had seemed distant and almost impossible before. Every day felt like the beginning of something new. She approached it with determination and hope. The first few days were filled with meetings, introductions, and guidance from Mr. Anderson and his team. He personally took the time to explain what resources were available, the paths she could take, and the potential she had to achieve great things. But throughout this process, he never pressured her. He emphasized that this opportunity was about her growth, her dreams, and her own choices. Emily appreciated this approach. It gave her confidence, knowing that she was being recognized for her character, skills, and potential, rather than simply being rewarded for one moment of kindness. Meanwhile, Ethan continued to develop a close bond with Emily. Their relationship had grown beyond the initial comfort and trust she had provided. Now she became a mentor, a friend, and a stable presence in his life. He looked forward to seeing her every time they visited the restaurant or spent time together. She encouraged him, celebrated his small victories, and guided him through challenges. For Ethan, who had often felt isolated because of his disability, Emily became someone he could rely on, someone who listened, understood, and cared without judgment or expectation. This consistent support helped him gain confidence, engage more with the world around him, and feel a sense of security that had previously been elusive. Emily's transformation was gradual but profound. The opportunity Mr. Anderson had given her allowed her to explore new skills, attend workshops, and participate in mentorship programs that expanded her understanding of the world. She learned about leadership, communication, and professional development, all while staying true to her compassionate nature. Every day she grew not only in knowledge and ability, but also in confidence. She realized that her small acts of empathy had value beyond what she had ever imagined. Her life was becoming a testament to the power of kindness. She felt grateful for the chance to develop her potential fully. Mr. Anderson watched this transformation with pride and satisfaction. For him, the experience reaffirmed something he had always believed, but rarely witnessed firsthand: the importance of recognizing and nurturing human potential. He had always understood the value of wealth, influence, and resources. But Emily had shown him that true impact comes from character, integrity, and empathy. By providing her with guidance and opportunity, he was not only helping her grow, but also witnessing the ripple effect of kindness and trust. The changes in her life were tangible, inspiring, and deeply rewarding. Over time, Emily also began to inspire others around her. Her story, although quiet at first, began to spread within her community. People saw how someone who had shown genuine compassion could receive opportunities that changed her life. Her example encouraged others to act with empathy, to notice the small struggles of people around them, and to understand that even the simplest gestures could have extraordinary consequences. She became a living proof that kindness, patience, and understanding were not just moral values, they were transformative forces capable of altering lives in meaningful ways. Ethan's growth continued alongside Emily's. He began to engage more confidently in social settings. Thanks to the foundation of trust and reassurance she had provided, he explored new activities, participated more in conversations, expressed his feelings openly, something he had often struggled with in the past. Emily's guidance had shown him that it was okay to be himself, to trust others, and to find comfort in supportive relationships. Mr. Anderson noticed these changes with deep satisfaction, realizing that his son's emotional and social development had been significantly influenced by Emily's presence and mentorship. As Emily gained experience and confidence, she began taking on new challenges. She embraced opportunities to learn, grow, and contribute in ways that extended beyond the restaurant. Mr. Anderson encouraged her to pursue goals she had once thought unattainable. He supported her in enrolling in courses, attending seminars, and gaining skills that would open doors to a brighter future. Each step she took was a testament to the fact that genuine human qualities, like empathy and patience, when paired with opportunity and guidance, could lead to remarkable growth and success. Throughout this journey, Emily never forgot the moment that started it, all the day she noticed Ethan crying and chose to comfort him. That single simple act had set off a chain of events that altered not only her life, but also the lives of Ethan and his father. She reflected often on the significance of small gestures, realizing that sometimes the simplest acts can have the most profound effects. She understood that being attentive, kind, and patient could create ripples that extended far beyond what anyone could see in the moment. For Mr. Anderson, the transformation in Emily and the continued growth of his son reinforced the idea that the most meaningful investments were not always financial. Wealth could provide resources and opportunities, but the true power came from recognizing character, nurturing potential, and fostering meaningful connections. By supporting Emily, he had created a positive cycle of growth, compassion, and human development. He had witnessed firsthand how one act of empathy could multiply influencing many lives in ways that were both tangible and lasting. Emily also became a source of inspiration for Ethan's father. In her, he saw a model of humility, resilience, and genuine care for others. Her presence reminded him of the importance of slowing down, observing, and valuing human connections in a world often dominated by ambition and material success. He began to incorporate these lessons into his own life, not just in his parenting, but also in the way he interacted with employees, friends, and business associates. Emily's impact extended beyond her own growth. She influenced the way a billionaire father viewed the world, relationships, and the power of simple acts of kindness. As months passed, the bond between Ethan, Emily, and Mr. Anderson strengthened. Ethan continued to thrive emotionally and socially, finding joy in small moments and confidence in his abilities. Emily continued to grow professionally and personally. Embracing opportunities with courage and determination, Mr. Anderson continued to observe and support, proud of the positive influence that had blossomed from what had initially seemed like a simple gesture. Their lives had become intertwined in a meaningful and enduring way, proving that genuine empathy and attention could create lasting, transformative relationships. Emily's journey also had broader implications. She became a reminder that people do not need wealth or status to make a difference in the lives of others. Even small, seemingly ordinary actions, like comforting a child in distress, could ignite a chain reaction of positive change. Her story demonstrated that compassion, patience, and attentiveness were powerful tools capable of reshaping lives, opening doors, and creating opportunities that could have been unimaginable. For Ethan, Emily remained a constant source of guidance, encouragement, and trust. He learned that the world could be a place of understanding and safety, thanks to her patient mentorship. He began to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow, explore, and connect with others. The confidence he gained through their relationship allowed him to engage more fully in everyday experiences, fostering emotional resilience and a sense of self-worth. By the end of this chapter of their lives, it was clear that Emily's impact had been extraordinary. Her simple act of wiping away Ethan's tears had evolved into a life-changing journey, one that reshaped her own future, strengthened a father's understanding of human connection, and nurtured a child's growth and happiness. It was a story that demonstrated the profound power of empathy, kindness, and patience, proving that small gestures could have extraordinary consequences. Mr. Anderson, looking back, often reflected on how a single moment in a busy restaurant had transformed not only his family's life, but also the life of someone he had come to admire deeply. He realized that the most valuable experiences in life were not those bought with money or achieved through status, but those created through genuine care, understanding, and attention to the needs of others. Emily's presence in their lives had created a ripple effect, one that would continue to influence and inspire them for years to come. In the end, what had started as a quiet act of compassion, a young waitress noticing a child's tears, had blossomed into a story of growth, opportunity, and enduring human connection. Emily's life had been changed forever. Ethan's confidence and emotional well-being had flourished. Mr. Anderson had learned a lesson about the true power of kindness and empathy. The story closed on a hopeful and inspiring note, demonstrating that in a world often focused on wealth, success, and achievement, the simplest acts of care and attention could be the most transformative of all.